Hi, I'm Michael Soon Lee. One thing I've noticed is that in America, a lot of people are uncomfortable meeting Asian Americans. And one of the reasons I think that is because they don't know how to greet us. Do you bow or do you shake hands? Well, about 60% of all Asian Americans are foreign born. And yet, 40% of Asian Americans, like myself, were born here. So, what do? Actually, it's the same when you're meeting anybody who could possibly be from a foreign country. The first thing you want to do is not shake hands, because shaking hands could be very offensive to many cultures. For example, Japanese women, Asian Indian women, and traditional Middle Eastern women can be very offended just by shaking hands with someone who is not their husband or family member. So what do? Very simple. All you do is not shake hands and you introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Michael Lee. We spoke on the phone. And you hesitate for a moment and you see what they do. If they are comfortable in shaking hands, they will put their hand out and go ahead and shake it. But very often, especially when it comes to women from many other countries, they're not going to shake hands with you. All they're going to do is nod to you to show you respect, and it's sort of a form of bowing as well. But it's more modern, and that's it. And so, if they nod to you, you simply nod back. If they put their hand out to shake your hand, go ahead and shake it. It's absolutely fine. But what you're trying to do is to let them tell you what is the most comfortable greeting for them. And on it goes when it comes to working with people from other cultures. For example, another cultural distance is personal space. How close or how far apart do you stand when you're talking to someone from another culture? So, for example, many people from Japan are very, very formal. They will maybe shake hands or bow to you, and then they will step back because they like a lot of personal space. Now, for an American, this is like the Grand Canyon. So what does the American do? They step forward to a more comfortable personal space. Now, you've just violated the Japanese person's personal space. So what do? They step back. You step forward. They step back. You chase them all over the room. You don't want to do that. So, what do you do when it comes to personal space? If you're talking to someone who likes a lot of personal space, then just stand there, maybe speak just a little more loudly, but get used to it. Because they're telling you this is the distance that's comfortable for them. Now, there are other cultures, for example, the Middle Eastern culture. They will shake hands or bow to you, and then they will step forward right into your face. Because they have a saying in the Middle East that when I'm talking to someone with whom I am comfortable, I want to feel your breath on my cheek. That's how close they want to be. Now, what's the natural tendency for us Americans? Because this is way too close. We step back. Now, for them, this is the Grand Canyon. So what do? They step forward, you step back, they step forward, they chase you all over the office or room. Don't do that. It's very embarrassing. How you meet someone can make or break your entire relationship. So, if someone shakes hands and steps forward, Just get used to it. Because recognize they're not trying to intimidate you. This is just what's comfortable for them. Now, in America, this is way too close. So what do we tend to do? We might even lean back. And they can feel that, they can tell, so don't do that. Just get used to it and recognize it's just one of many cultural differences. And finally, what do you say to someone from another culture to kind of get the ball rolling? You know, it's interesting, especially with Asians. With African Americans, most people think they'll talk about sports because they think African Americans are all into sports, which is absolutely not true, but that's a stereotype. With Hispanics, they'll talk about food. For example, they'll talk about burritos or churros or chimichangas or something like that. What do you talk about to an Asian? Astrophysics, maybe? I don't know. No, don't do that. When you meet someone from another culture, what you want to do is kind of talk about culture because, frankly, we know we look different than white Americans. Now, it shouldn't be the first question out of your mouth, like, where are you from? No, big mistake. Because some of us are a little sensitive about that. First thing you want to do is figure out, where are you from? What is your cultural background? You might be third generation Italian or something else like that, and that could start a really interesting conversation. So you might start out saying something like, oh, by the way, I'm third generation Italian. You might have wondered about my last name. It's got all these vowels in it. And my ancestors are from Sicily. Can I ask you, where are your ancestors from? And that's crucial because if you ask me where I'm from, I'm going to tell you San Francisco, which does you absolutely no good. But if you ask me where my ancestors are from, I'm happy to tell you. I am fifth generation Chinese American. My ancestors came from Canton, China in the 1850s. And look at how interesting that conversation can get. We can talk about China, we can talk about Italy, we can talk about food, we can talk about all kinds of interesting things beyond just what do you do for a living. So, recognize that it's okay to ask people about their culture. Just remember to ask everybody, not just people who look different, and learn a little bit about your own cultural background so you can do a little self-disclosure before you bring up the topic. Good luck with all of your clients, no matter where they're from.